Yeah, thank you. Permission to speak on auspicious dates, people, events, and boats.
Without objection, all of that is ordered.
Yeah. The vessel, the Coast Guard boat, is the Healy, and named after a very distinguished Coast Guard skipper, Michael Healy, often known as Roaring Mad Mike, and who ran vessels here in Alaska waters probably 25 years, and is also famous for being a man of African American heritage, who kind of went for white, as the expression goes, and was now we know as the first commissioned U.S. skipper with that heritage, but made an extraordinary contribution here in Alaska. We celebrate this week and yesterday the birth of Martin Luther King, and there's one of the lives. I don't think the man ever intended to be famous, but he did intend to make a difference. And he followed his principles and tried to express them in a way that was nonviolent, not causing schisms between people, but indeed would change things. I stood at Sproul Hall steps in Fairbanks and heard Mario Savio give his famous speech when he said, "Finally, the events and the process in our country lead us no alternative but to throw our bodies on the machinery of culture and see if we can make it grind to a stop." Dr. King and his followers, with great dignity and grace, called the nation's attention to things that weren't right, and they changed. And his speech, "I Have a Dream," is becoming famous, not unlike the Gettysburg Address and others, and I'm glad that we and the nation has set aside a holiday to commend a life well spent with disproportionate impact. And then I would add that, and I heard his niece on the radio yesterday saying that Dr. King, of course, was a minister and a man of deep personal and public faith. And those of you that think that religious people should keep their noses out of politics, you got to say then that guys like King should not have spoken out. And that all of the abolitionists that I've ever researched that led the anti-slavery movement were all people of faith. But she said also that Dr. King was militantly pro-life and would have, in our day, been much engaged in that human rights issue, which leads me to my final point, that on the 22nd, we will have a rally out on the steps out here to commemorate the authorization of America's Holocaust. Now something over 50 million children have died, and those of us that feel strongly about human rights, I would encourage you to join us at noon on the steps.